Hello everyone, I'm all about Sonic, bringing you the latest on everything Telltale Games, Transformers, and more. Today's review, we're going to be looking at Transformers Combiner Force Episode 4, Blurred. Now, this episode, I kind of have a love-hate relationship with it. On the one side, we finally get our reintroduction of Blurr, who I gotta say is one of my favorite after this episode, he's gonna be, I can definitely tell he's one of my favorite characters in Robots in Disguise. Definitely, maybe even tied with Smokescreen for my favorite Transformers character of all time, because he's literally a second Smokescreen. But then, at the same time, this episode makes me hate Sideswipe so much. So you're gonna wait and see, wait and see what the final review on this episode is gonna be at the end. But for now, we're gonna go ahead and go over what this episode did right and what it did wrong. So the main pro of this episode is basically the entirety of Blurr, and to a lesser extent, the antagonist Ragebite, who I think is really cool villain, despite the fact that he's literally a repaint of I think Hammerhead from season 1. He shares the exact same model as him, but they say he is a Sharkticon and all that. But anyway, back to the main thing. So the episode starts off with the B team going after this runaway plane that's going to crash into one of Windblade's caches, and therefore the humans will discover it. So they're trying to stop the plane from crashing, and during it, Sideswipe ends up trying to climb this cliffside so he can catch the plane on this mountain. However, while he's climbing, he accidentally causes the cliffside to collapse, and he almost falls to his death had it not been for Blurr, who ends up coming and rescue them. Now, I gotta say, I love Blurr's new outfit. I've watched a couple episodes of Transformers Rescue Bots, and I wasn't really a big fan of Blurr's appearance in that, but I love Blurr's appearance in Robots in Disguise. Blurr's is once again voiced by Max Middleman, who also voiced him in the Rescue Bots cartoon, similar to how Will Friedle and Darren Criss reprised their roles as Bumblebee and Sideswipe in the episodes in which they showed up in Rescue Bots. So, basically, this episode is if you ever saw Transformers Prime, remember, I think Season 2, Episode 19, New Recruit, which is the first episode with Smokescreen in it. This episode is very similar to that, in which but when Blurr rescues Sideswipe, he ends up fanboying out over Strong-Arm, Grimlock, Drift, and Bumblebee, and so it's kind of very similar to when Optimus was a big fan. It's not Optimus. Smokescreen was a big fanboy of Optimus back in Transformers Prime, and we even get a nice little nod back to Rescue Bots, in which Blurr and Sideswipe, in the episode where Sideswipe showed up in Rescue Bots, he helped Blurr track down a Cyclone Minicom, which was I think one of the best episodes of Rescue Bots of the few I actually saw. So yeah, literally Blurr is basically the Robots in Disguise version of Smokescreen, and I really love his personality because he's always about doing the right thing and all that, and he's not like, well, I understand that Smokescreen was kind of like self-centered. He believed in the whole Destiny thing early on in Season 2. He was kind of annoying back in Season 2 and really improved in Season 3. Blurr doesn't really seem to have that problem that Smokescreen had in Season 2, so I'm really glad Hasbro didn't do that. So another good thing about this episode is the Decepticon in this episode, Ragebite. Now, he is basically a rehash of Hammerhead from Season 1. However, instead of Hammerhead being like a typical pirate, we have Ragebite's kind of similar to Shockwave a lot from Transformers Prime. He's like a scientist who's I think he seems to be really collected and all that. We don't see him a lot, but I really appreciate the fact that of his idea. Basically, the whole thing is that they're trying to the Autobots are trying to stop Ragebite from creating this, finishing this bomb of his that it's powered by styrofoam of all things. So, but aside from that, I really appreciate the fact that they decided to make a Sharkticon more diverse rather than have them all be pirate stereotypes. That's really another good thing that has worked in this episode. Now, the main gripe I had with this episode was Sideswipe, and while Sideswipe has acted like an idiot, and a jerk sometimes, we saw him in the Starscream episodes when he was a jerk to Fix-It, Jetstorm, and Slipstream, and basically he was calling them useless and all that. And then I think he was rude to Strong-Arm a lot in Season 1. Not so much in Season 2, but now this is really the boiling point where I can't stand Sideswipe. So basically, this whole episode, Sideswipe is jealous of Blurr because everyone loves him more, and they think that he is going to Sideswipe thinks that Blurr is trying to get Sideswipe kicked off the team so that Blurr can take his place or something like that. And it's very similar to actually the Transformers Prime. Like I said, in the first 2 episodes Smokescreen is in, New Recruit and The Human Factor, I think it's called, Bulkhead, who is still injured at this time after being shot by a hard shell, really hates Smokescreen because he thinks that everyone's gonna like Smokescreen more than Bulkhead. So he keeps trying. Like in the episode of Human Factor, when Silas comes back in Breakdown's body, Bulkhead, even though he's still injured, decides to go out and fight him, and nearly gets killed, but had it not been for Smokescreen coming in to save him. I feel like it's a lot like that episode. And literally, all because Sideswipe can't learn a little humility, that's literally the entire event of this episode. He's the one that causes Strong Arm to drop hard Rage Blight and all his and his bomb and all his supplies and all that. He nearly gets everyone killed, but in the beginning of the episode, climbing the cliff, though that's not really that big of a deal. When Drift comes with the speedboat to chase after Rage Blight with, he pushes Drift off the boat so he can go after it himself, and Blurr barely manages to. And can we take a moment to appreciate how Blurr actually is one of the, from what I've seen, some of the only Autobot in Transformers Prime to have a turbo boost. I mean, it's really nice to see that. Like, we never really saw like an Autobot, like, or I don't think we've seen a Decepticon yet in this show or Transformers Prime, but we've never seen an Autobot like have a turbo boost in the in Prime or Robots in the Sky. So I'm really glad Blurr has that now, and even when we even see more of the reason I hate Sideswipe is when right after Rage Blight escapes, it seems as though Sideswipe's going to admit to like being the reason for it, but then Blurr comes in and is like, oh no, it's my fault, I shouldn't have been driving by you, Bumblebee, and then it's like Sideswipe's like, oh well, why did you take credit for my mistake? I'm like, oh okay, good for you, Sideswipe. And he's like, oh, not like I make any mistake, and then I'm just like, oh my god, Sideswipe, why can't you just learn a little humility for once? And I mean, this happens, he does learn this in the end when he does learn to work better with Blurr. When after they're on the boat, Blurr says he's just been trying to help Sideswipe this entire time, and so then Sideswipe realizes how much of a jerk he was, and he volunteers himself to sacrifice himself and get the bomb out of the city before it blows up, but instead Blurr does it, and everyone thinks he died at first when the bomb goes off, but he was fast enough to get away before the bomb explodes. And then this leads to the end of the episode where Bumblebee decides, noticing how well Blurr and Sideswipe work together. When Sideswipe thinks he's going to get kicked off the team, Bumblebee instead makes Blurr Sideswipe's intern, which we knew from the summary of episode 6, Be Cool, that does eventually happen. So I'm glad to see that Sideswipe did get better by the end, but I just really hope this doesn't happen again, because this was very out of character for Sideswipe. I mean, it would have been fine for him in Season 1, but in Season 3, no. And even when, because if you remember back in Rescue, you ever saw the episode where he was in Rescue Box, Sideswipe acted really friendly towards Blurr, and it was kind of like a reverse role. The whole thing was that Blurr was excited when Sideswipe came and he wanted to leave with Sideswipe to go with them, but then he didn't feel like he was ready to be, and Sideswipe, hey, no, you're totally good at rescuing people and stuff like that. And so, yeah, I just hope that doesn't happen again. And so that was my review of Transformers Robots in Disguise Combiner Force Episode 4 Blurred. If I had to rate this episode, I would probably give it a 7.5 out of 10. Blurr is a fantastic character. I'm glad he's finally back in Robots in Disguise after Rescue Bots ended. And Rage Blight was a cool new twist on Sharkticons. But Sideswipe really, really meddled down this episode and was really, really sucky. So that's going to be it for this episode. I'll be back soon with Episode 5, Sphere of Influence. If you like this review, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys later.